Hi, today's lesson is on Country House by Blur. This is a song like a lot of Blur songs where there's some kind of lead bits going on in the background in places, some sort of weird lead playing by Graham Coxon. It's not very discernible really, and it's just like a faint thing in the background, so I'm not looking at that. I'm just basically going over the chord sequence for the song, but showing you the way that he plays the chords, or that I think he plays the chords. Now, the thing about Graham Coxon's playing, you'll know this if you watched my Beatlebum lesson video, is that instead of playing a standard bar chord, which you may know, say for example an A bar chord like that, what he would do is he'd keep these fingers there and move this one so it's just covering two strings. So we've still got all of the same notes apart from that one on the sixth, and then the thumb comes over and plays that one. So it's exactly the same notes as a bar chord. So it's identical sound, but it's like a Hendrix sort of way of doing things. Graham Coxon definitely plays his bar chords mostly like this, the 6-string bar chords. When he's playing a 5th-string bar chord, like for example if he was playing a D here, he would do this, which is probably one you're familiar with. So for the purpose of the lesson, I'll play them the way he played them. You could just play like there's an A bar chord at the beginning, you could just play it like that if you wanted, rather than that. The very beginning of the song starts with this kind of bass rundown, like a chromatic thing. And the chord that's played at the same time is really difficult to hear. And if you watch people playing covers of this song, you'll notice probably that they miss this bit out. It's really difficult to hear what this chord is. I think the closest I can sort of find is a D sharp augmented. Two ways to play this. Probably the easiest way is to play a shape which takes up the lower 5 strings like this. I've got my little finger on the 11 on the 6th string, and then it goes diagonally down like this. 10 on the 5th, 9 on the 4th, 8 on the 3rd and 8 on the 2nd as well. So this finger flattens over both strings, and I'm trying not to play the 1st string. I'm actually lifting this finger up a bit so it doesn't actually let that string through. So we've got this. It's just played once, I know. It's got quite a sort of heavy sound on that part. Now the other way you could play this chord is down here. 6th fret on the 5th string with your little finger again, 5th fret on the 4th string, 4th fret on the 2nd and the 3rd strings. That means flattening that finger over both, so that's a little bit awkward. And then 3rd fret on the 1st string, and you don't play the E here, just 5. Now that will give you more of a brighter kind of sound like he gets on the record, but it's a little bit awkward to play. But because it's the first chord of the song, you can kind of get it right in position and take your time and then hit it once you're ready to play. That one or that one. And then we go into the sort of next part of the intro, which is the same as the verse sequence, which goes like this. It's an A bar chord played the way I mentioned, or you could just do a bar. And we're doing this kind of rhythm where we hit the lower strings twice and then hit the whole lot once. So you get this kind of... That's a rhythm that's in this song a lot. And you'll notice when I do that, I just relax my fingers and my thumb just after that first strum. So that it kind of gives you that rhythm. Okay, so that's the first one. Then we go to an E. And E is played with the other shape that I mentioned before. So flattening this one at 9th fret. You probably already know some of these chords. Try not to hit the 1st string. Doesn't matter if that finger's touching it, but just try and avoid it with the pick. And this one's on 7 on the 5th string. So we've got these. And because that's an E, you can involve this as well. This is an E. Anywhere else that chord was played, you wouldn't be able to use this string. But here we can. Similar kind of rhythm. So we've got. Next one's B minor. B minor is another one with the thumb over the top. You could play like that, you probably know that one, but he plays it like this. He does a little fill on this one, and the fill is a little kind of little lead phrase which fits in a particular space in the song. And he adds a fill to this, but the basic chord is that. Then he plays a fill. Now the fill, you leave this finger where it is, so you take the others away, play the second and third strings, and hammer on to the third string at 9th fret with your third finger, and pull off again. So it's, keep that finger there, play the 9 on the 4th string, and then do a similar thing, but it's not a hammer on this time. He plays those 2 strings again, second and third, puts that finger on and actually picks it, and then pulls off. So that might take a bit of practice to get that in time. So if I play the whole chord, like that. And then from there we go to a D. Now I mentioned a D earlier, but it's not actually a D the way I played it in that example earlier. We're going up using the same shape we used for the A at 10th position. So a little bit of a squash to get your fingers in, depending on your guitar and your particular fingers. And then here we play the same kind of rhythm. And then a bit of an odd one, it's a D over C sharp. This on its own, out of context, sounds horrible, but I think it's the chord he uses. He just moves the thumb back one, but keeps the chord where it is. Now I know that's a bit of a bad sound, but that's what he does. So it goes. And then, this is quite cool, he then moves the rest of the fingers back to join the thumb. So that's a C sharp chord. So we've got D, D over C sharp, C sharp. And this is one advantage of playing the chords like this rather than like that, because to move that back without moving the others is really difficult. So this thumb method is a bit easier anyway. And then there's another fill. Now this fill is, the timing of this is a bit strange. What you've got to do is play the standard pattern on the chord we're doing like this, and then play another strum on the chord, and then play the fill, which is flatten the first finger over second and third strings at 9th fret, play those 2 strings, hammer on and pull off to the 3rd string 11, and then come across to the 4th string, play the 9, hammer on to the 11. So it's like this. But getting the rhythm right on that is quite hard, so I'll play it from the beginning of the chord. So slowly. And it's essential to do that extra strum before the fill. Okay, so that's the main sequence for the verse. So I'm just going to play all of that for you so you can see that. I'll do it quite slowly. And when you speed up a bit, it kind of flows a bit better. Okay, so it does that twice. But the second time, there's no fill on the C sharp. So what that means is where the fill would be, it's just moved into the next bit of the song. So that bar actually is just a half bar, or a bar of 2/4, you could say. So you just count 1, 2, and then you're into the next bit. Where the rest of this is in 4/4, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. On this bit, we just go, and then we're into the next bit. So it's 1, 2. So I'm just going to play the whole verse sequence for you with both endings. Then we're into the next part. Okay, the next part's the pre-chorus. Now the pre-chorus in this song's really easy. It's just an E chord. So it just goes. It's just 2 bars. So you're counting to 4 twice. So that's really easy, just an open E. And then we're into the chorus. Now the chorus has got quite a strange rhythm to it. I haven't analysed this really exactly with the strum, but I think it's basically a down, up, down on each beat. So if I do 4 beats of A, which is the first part of it, it would be down, up, down 4 times. Like that. That's kind of how he plays it. On its own, it sounds a bit weird, but when you get that with a band, that would work. So it's... And then this bit is an interesting part actually. It's an E chord. What he does is goes to the E where we did it before and plays 1 beat. So that's just down, up, down. Then goes to an E7 but played like this. This is just part of a bigger E7 chord. It's 7 on the 5th string, 6 on the 4th string, 7 on the 3rd string, and we're just playing those 3 strings. And it's easy to miss this chord actually. When you listen to it without listening carefully, it just sounds like an E chord, but it does skip to that one and then back to the E again. So it goes. And then a D sharp passing chord, which is just moving the E back one to there. So that bar, bit of a strange one, goes like this. And then we go to D for a bar, which is 4 lots of that little strum. And then the first time we go back to the A again for a bar. So that whole sequence is this. And then that repeats, but the second time, when he comes back to the A chord, he does this thing where he plays a different rhythm. It's 5 downstrokes, and on the last one, I really like this, the last one rings and he slides his hand back to an A flat, and then you're into the next verse, which is back to the A. So his left hand moves like that and then back again. It's a really nice little touch, this. So that last part goes like this. Really weird. I'll just play the whole chorus and then I'll play the first chord of the next verse just so you can hear that transition. And then we've got another verse. So verse 2, it's exactly the same as verse 1, same sequence, but the guitar doesn't play to begin with. So he joins in on the second fill, which was on that C sharp. So if you remember from the first verse, we had a fill on the B minor, and then we had a fill on the C sharp. That. Well, he joins in on that. So he doesn't play anything for the beginning of it, and then comes in on that at that point, and then continues with the verse exactly the same as before. So it'd be from this point, and so on to the end of the verse. And then the pre-chorus, same as before, 2 bars of E, just like before. And then we've got the second chorus. Now the second chorus is the same as the first chorus, but the last bar, rather than being this time it's just a 2/4 bar, so another kind of half bar with just 2 beats on the A. So the simplest way to demonstrate that is just to play the whole second chorus. Into the next part. So we've got a bridge. Now the bridge comes after that bar of 2/4 on the A, and it's just an E chord again for 3 bars, just strumming the beats like this. So from the 2/4 of A. Just that, so that's really easy, that bit. Okay, and then we're into the solo. Very odd solo. I mean, his solos usually are. It's very distinctive. You can tell it's him. It's a really good solo. I might look at that on a separate lesson video, but for now we'll just look at the chords. So the chords underneath the solo are exactly the same as the verse. So it's basically the verse part being played underneath the solo. Now the middle 8 doesn't have any guitar in it, no electric guitar at all, until like right at the end you can hear him join in just to sort of lead into the next part. But it's basically no electric guitar in it, and it's 8 bars long. So middle 8s should be 8 bars long, but they're not always. But this one is. And the last 2 bars there's an acoustic guitar, and I haven't really noticed an acoustic guitar much in this song, or I haven't noticed one at all really. But there could be one, but you can really hear it on the end of this middle 8, just 2 bars, a D to an A, open chords, just doing a little arpeggio picking thing. Something like that. I haven't worked that out precisely because, you know, it's not that big a part in the song. Something like that, okay? And then we go to the last chorus. Now the last chorus is the same as the first chorus, so it just goes round and round again on this and fades out. So it goes around several times before it fades. But it's the same as the first chorus, but with just the first ending. So if you remember, on the first chorus we had the first ending, which was just, and then we had the second ending, which was the. That. Well, we don't do that at all here, we just do that A at the end. So just to demonstrate, I'll play the chorus sequence twice, although it's more than twice on the song, it's probably 4 or 5 times as it fades out. I'll just do it twice. So yeah, that's all of it. Any questions about that, please put them in the comments, and if you want to suggest any other lesson videos, then do, and I'll do my best to perhaps have a look at them. Okay, thanks.